Yeah, absolutely. It's a step in the right direction. Of course, there's a lot to improve on, but overall, in a big game at home, 5 goals after, and the reaction after a poor start to the game. Yeah, really pleased. Really pleased. We showed a lot of different elements to our game. Always good to score from set pieces as well. It's a big part of football and a great when you've got delivery like we had tonight. That's always a positive as well because it's not chance. We work on these things and it's pleasing to see those things pay off as well.
Because, as you mentioned, the not ideal start, but then notable. You got the goals, you settled down, and you looked a lot more comfortable in the midfield. Yourself out there in the middle of the park, what did you feel was the difference between, I guess, the pre taking the lead and post the lead? What were you feeling? What were you seeing that settled you down and made you play better?
Listen, it's arguably one of the hardest I've been pressed in a home game in a long time. They were absolutely flying through. There was absolutely no time on the ball in the middle of the park. We had to control the second balls probably a little bit better in the early phase of the game. I think we started to get a little bit more hold of that as the game went on. And then it was just about breaking that first line. As soon as we started breaking the kind of missing through the sixes and playing into the pockets, and once we broke that pressure, it looked like we were going to score, every time we went through, and it's obviously how we lead to the second goal as well. So, listen, I think we just took us a bit to settle in to find where the spaces were, and then once we did that, I felt like we much improved in the second half of the first half.
Look, Jackson, you've probably been reminded about 1,000 times this is where you scored your first international goal, but
Yep.
to get 2 more tonight in such a crucial setting as well, it must be very pleasing.
Yeah, from of course a personal point of view, special night. I never take it for granted being here, and I haven't played in the stadium since that night. It was almost 8 years ago to the day up. So it's obviously very special. But this is a new time, new shirt, new everything, and I had a good feeling when I put it on the first time. It might have been a good night for me today.
Yeah, good kit mention. Also, I noticed a few of the players when the Indonesian national anthem was playing looked up to the away end where their supporters were. Were you guys shocked at how loud and how raucous and how many red shirts were out there as well?
I think anyone who's paid attention to social media over the last week is probably not surprised. It's been, it's part of football, and it's what we love about it, that teams can come away from home and bring that energy and atmosphere. But I thought our fans were equally, brilliant and pushed us in the key moments of the game, and gave us that extra leg up probably when we needed it. So yeah, great energy, great atmosphere from both sets of fans. It was enjoyable occasion.
Jackson, given how tight the group is and how the game was poised after that penalty, how big a defining moment is it for a group the way that you did regroup? And there was a moment where it looked like you were able to press for the first time as well, and a lot of confidence came from that. How big is that for the group moving forward?
I think we've shown it from the first game. If you look at China and Adelaide going behind, the reaction we showed there, and in every other game, I think we've had moments that have been difficult, and we've been able to regroup and stay calm and come back to the basics and the structure that we've now got as a baseline. And I think that's so key when you've got players that are capable of riding through those moments. Yeah, of course, it was a penalty, and there's a little bit of fortune about the miss, but at the end of the day, even if it had gone in, I've got full faith that the boys would have remained calm, found our feet, and got ourselves back into the game the way we did.
Happy with questions for Jackson or Gubby? I was going to ask Tony. Anything else for Jackson?
Have the players... Jack, have the players kind of become a bit like desensitised to pressure situations, just given the last few years and the high stakes games you've had year after year? Does it sort of feel like, a game like this now, with how tight the group is, the guys are just so used to it?
I hope not. I hope they still get that feeling like I know I had today, that of course you don't become desensitised, but you are more equipped to probably manage it, I think is maybe the better way of putting it. I think you've got to feel that little butterflies. You've got to recognise when big games, big moments, that's the best thing about playing football, best thing about international football. And we've shown over the years that we've got players and we're a team that can thrive in those situations. And obviously there's guys here that haven't been through a full campaign before, and this is probably their first experience of a game like this where it's, there's a lot on the line, and I thought they responded excellently throughout the game. And yeah, as I say, it's a big step forward in a lot of ways. Obviously a lot to improve on as always, but from a mentality perspective, especially for a lot of guys who haven't seen this kind of situation before, I think it's a big step forward for them.
Thanks, Jackson.
Cheers.
Yeah, obviously not a good start. I think the goal they scored probably summarised how we defended today. They didn't create. We gave them chances. We gave them the penalty. We gave them the goal as well. So I think defensively we weren't great today. We were a little bit on edge, a little bit sloppy in our defending. So that's how we started, and gave away a silly wide free kick, and then obviously the penalty happened. They missed, and then I think getting the goal settled everyone down, and I thought we're okay after that.
Nishan Balupale, looking at your team sheet, he looked like the player who might be able to provide a bit of spark, a bit of something out of nothing. Your thoughts on his game, especially his first half, and how he's growing into international football?
Yeah, it's a special moment for the boys, isn't it? Like starting your first game, pressure, Sydney Stadium that's full. It doesn't come bigger than that. So the young man's handling it well. Scored. He has that talent. He has that ability to do that, and hopefully we'll get him stronger, that he can maintain that level for longer periods. Of course, he got a little tired in the second half and gets a bit sloppy, but that's part of the growth. You put these boys in. You can't just manufacture the minutes and the experience of playing in big games. At the start, they don't have that. So that's his first start. So when he looks back, he should be really proud of that.
Vince?
Tony, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Historically, the Socceroos have generally struggled to be clinical in front of goal, long before your tenure as well. How pleasing was it, the way that they took their chances when they came tonight, and particularly for what it does for the goal difference in the group as well?
Of course. Any time you can score 5 goals is pleasing, and when you do it, at home under, we can say pressure. Of course, there's pressure in World Cup qualifying. It's what you want to be part of. You want to be part of something special that can get through these moments and get through that we can get better for it. So from this game, can we now handle the next challenge of China better? From this experience, from knowing that we can score 5 goals when in some areas of our game wasn't great. It was solid, but it wasn't great. And that we always look dangerous. And Jackson made a great point. Once the players realise that if we can bypass the midfield, we were constantly one-on-one on the halfway line. Whenever we tried to build up, we were inviting them, but we were just taking too long on the ball. The choice wasn't great. Our decision-making wasn't great. And once we started doing that, you felt whenever someone half-turned, there was an opportunity. So that's a learning for us to maybe be aware a little bit earlier on what the opponent's doing. If they're pressing us, can we see that a bit earlier and bypass it and combine in those pockets behind that, or when they sit deeper that, we can build up a little better.
And just in relation to what you're trying to do, the game style can't be easy coming into taking the job in the middle of World Cup qualification, particularly the third round. How far along are they in terms of implementing the style of play that you're trying to implement?
Yeah, maybe I aim quite high, so I'd say they're not there where we want to be, but that's not a negative. That's a positive. That's they've taken strides forward, and it's not easy to do what they did tonight. It's 5 goals is difficult against anyone. We played a good opponent. It's a World Cup qualifier. We all want to always get better and try and improve the game style, and like those points that I made about how do we identify quicker what is happening on the field. That will happen with more games together, and unfortunately with a lot of injuries, a lot of changes, it's hard to build that continuity, but what we are building is squad depth. That's something that we are building. So I felt that this camp, or this window of the first game, is the first time I felt in training and just around the hotel that this group is now starting to build into something that we're trying to build, build going forward, and that's with a lot of changes as well. So positive. Very excited about the next game. Honoured and proud of what I saw tonight. You know, to be a head coach in Sydney, hometown. You know, it's just special. You know, and you stand there, you listen to the national anthem, and say, okay, well, you know, I want to play my part in helping these players do something special, and you know, I'm honoured to be part of this group.
Tony, congratulations on the result. The decision to take Martin and Adam off at half time, Boyley looked like he'd run himself into the ground in the first half, and Tags seemed to be just clutching at his groin at moments just before half time. Is there any issue there?
Could be. We'll get them assessed in the morning, but they both had a bit of a niggle. Maybe Adam a little bit more than Martin Boyle, but you know, it was Adam was definitely coming off, and Martin was a bit of a precaution. We knew he wouldn't be able to go the 90, and we thought with how Indonesia was playing that maybe some fresh legs between the lines to still exploit that man-on-man that they were doing on the halfway, that, you know, Craig could come on and help us in that area, and I thought we could still do that a bit better, but, you know, with Craig's delivery, he set up a couple of goals, so, you know, positive, and hopefully those boys are fit to travel.
Probably lost in the euphoria of 5 goals was just how incredible Matty was between the sticks. 3 incredible saves. Can you just talk to us about his performance?
Yeah, I have to say I'm not surprised after seeing him when he came into camp. Just a different demeanour, you know, and that comes from playing. You know, he's played now, I think, 4 or 5 games at Lons. Maybe he's had a couple of clean sheets. You can see he's full of confidence, and he showed that when he came in. You know, it was you know, a real presence around the group, and tonight he stood tall. So really happy for him.
Ben? Tony, you obviously touched on the injuries to Adam and Martin, but they were playing really well before they had to come off. How did you think the front three functioned? You've obviously touched on Nish's performance as well, but it looked like all 3 of them were kind of dropping into good pockets, holding ball up, playing it, spinning.
Yeah, they did, and you know, it's the first time Adam's been with us since I've been involved. Nish's first start, yeah, Martin's first start with me, so it's new for them. But I thought they handled that well and had a lot of clarity on what they wanted to do. And once they worked out where the spaces were, they were really dangerous. So it's a shame that 2 of them had to come off at half time, but you know, I thought we finished the game well, and hopefully those boys will be okay.